All right, and I'll get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's call. My name is Mitch Steichen, and I'm the Senior Communications Manager here at Feeding America. Just a few logistics here at the top of the call. We are recording this session and can share the recording with you all following the call. Attendees are muted for now as we go through introductions and remarks from each of our panelists and then eventually move into a question and answer session later. Should you like to ask a question, please use the chat at the bottom right-hand corner of your window and let us know your name and outlet. No need to type out your question in the chat as we will allow you to ask it over audio. When we reach the Q&A, I'll jump back in and let you know that I've changed your settings to allow you to come off mute. But until then, we're going to hear from our host. I'd like to introduce Jeff Nally, President of the National Association of Farm Broadcasting, to start our call.
Well, thank you very much, Mitch. It's a joy to be able to be together here this morning. Certainly glad to have Linda Najat with us. She is President and Chief Operating Officer of Feeding America. And also we have Drew Montry. She is the Vice President of Agri-Food Engagement for Feeding America. So you asked some questions maybe in the beginning. Why is NAFB involved in this? And let me share just a few thoughts with you. First of all, there are hungry kids and there are hungry people. And I'll just focus briefly here on children. 1 out of 5 is food insecure. But 90% of those kids live in rural America. This is our issue as we serve rural America. The second part of that is that we can help. I don't think in the history of NAFB in our 80 plus years that we have ever put all of our radio stations together, all of our TV, put our complete focus toward any one issue. And what could there be a bigger issue than hunger, especially as we're talking about agriculture? It allows us as well to prove our worth. We want to show that NAFB, when it bands together in farm radio and farm broadcast, that we can move the needle. So if there are hungry kids that are out there, and we know that there are more people food insecure today than at any time, even during the COVID pandemic. Here's the part that I'm asking you to do as we tell this story of Feeding America. Let's tell the farmer's story. Look in your own communities and your own states, and let's talk about the stories that farmers don't seek for themselves, the way that individuals or organizations are already doing to help feed the hungry in their communities. Let's tell the farmer story of what they're doing, and then let's invite everyone to help. NAFBhunger.com is a place that we can drive our listeners to go and to help. And the last one that I would share with you is value. You'll hear this morning from our panelists that Feeding America has the ability through their structure to provide 10 meals for $1. Imagine 10 children sitting at your kitchen table hungry, and $1 would provide them a meal. How powerful is that? Our goal is to raise $100,000 and 1 million meals by the time we get to our convention in November. I guess lastly is the regulatory structure that according to the FCC, we have to keep a public file of all of our radio stations, of the things that we do for our community. What better cause can there be for stations than if we were to help feed the hungry? And that's why we're here today. And certainly this is a reason for us to draw together. So let's hear from our panelists this morning. Linda?
Thanks so much, Jeff. And thanks for having us. We are thrilled to be with all of you today. And September is Hunger Action Month, and you're joining us today on Hunger Action Day. It's a key moment in September where we encourage everyone to join us in our mission to take action to end hunger. And so you just being on this call is helping us to derive collective action forward. During the whole month of September, Feeding America and our national network of 200 plus food banks, over 60,000 faith-based and community-based organizations that all work together to ensure that people facing hunger have access to the nutritious food that they need. All across the country, we're working to come together with our partners to elevate the voices of people who are facing hunger and inspire our nation to take action. Our members are hosting events all month. They are conducting advocacy campaigns. They're holding volunteer activities. There is so much more that's going on. And we want to encourage every single one of you to reach out to your local food bank if you don't already have a relationship. They can help you learn more about the impact of hunger in your local community, and they can share with you the activities that they're taking on this Hunger Action Month in order to engage all the folks in our communities across this country in this good work, in this good mission. Now, as Jeff mentioned, rural hunger is a particular issue. And we know that right now, this year, we are facing a hunger crisis. There are over 47 million people in America who are experiencing food insecurity, including 13 million children. And as Jeff said, that's 1 in 5 kids. And what we know about rural hunger is that the rates of food insecurity in rural communities can be much, much higher than in other areas. We know that in many rural communities, child food insecurity rates can be as high as nearly 50%. We know that rural counties disproportionately experience food insecurity when compared to urban areas, and that people living in rural communities often have more difficulties accessing groceries from stores or from food pantries due to long travel distances or fewer transit options. Those just make some real barriers and challenges for folks in order to gain access to the food that they need. But what we also know is that it doesn't have to be this way. A Hunger Action Month is a time for every one of us to stand together, shoulder to shoulder, with our neighbors who are experiencing food insecurity to drive change. We know that it takes many hands to make sure that every single person who's facing hunger gets access to the food that they need. And you are farmers, ranchers, producers. You are the fabric of communities. We know that when you get involved, really big things happen. And so we want to ask you to step forward and do your part by donating to nafbhunger.com, or finding volunteer opportunities, or learning more about hunger in your community by reaching out to your local food bank and getting involved, because we can end hunger when we all work together. Drew, I'll hand over to you.
Thanks so much, Linda. You mentioned that today is Hunger Action Day. This is Hunger Action Month, and that means it's a month of collective action. And that is exactly the way farmers, ranchers, producers regularly show up and play a critical role in this movement to end hunger. I, in my role, get to lead the agriculture team at Feeding America, and I see that we live in a country of incredible agricultural abundance, and there are phenomenal people that are working hard every single day to ensure that everyone in this country has the food that they need to thrive. The Feeding America Network works with farmers and the agriculture community every day. We work across commodities, we work across scale, we work across production practices. So I'll start with some of the stats on the work to rescue surplus food and to distribute that farm fresh, nutritious food. From July of last year, 2024, to June of this year, 2025, the Feeding America Network rescued 4.3 billion pounds of wholesome food, including 971 million pounds of produce directly from growers in the produce industry. When we include other sources of food, like federal commodity programs that the agriculture community is directly involved in and a significant contributor to, the Feeding America Network sourced 3.6 billion pounds just of agricultural products. That's 2.4 billion pounds of produce, which is a 4% growth over last year, 492 million pounds of fresh milk and dairy, which was up 10 million pounds over the last year, and 728 million pounds of meat, poultry, and seafood. I mentioned that our network works with farmers in the ag community every day across commodities and across scales. So for some farmers, that means they connect regularly with a local agency in their community or their local food bank. And we're encouraging you to reach out to your local food banks to see how you can get involved. For some larger scale growers who have more excess that can be shared in their community. We also have connections with partner state associations and regional co-ops. So that agricultural product is being shared not just only in a local community, but with other people facing hunger across the state and across the country. At the national level, we're regularly working with organizations like the International Fresh Produce Association, the Meat Institute, U.S. Dairy, and our members are engaged with state commodity organizations, ag leaders, and food banks are regularly engaging directly with farmers. So instead of discarding perfectly good excess food, there's an opportunity to partner with your local food bank, to partner with Feeding America, the country's largest food rescue organization, and turn that excess into access for people who are facing hunger, who have said that they want more fresh, nutritious food. It wouldn't be possible without farmers. Farmers truly feed America, and we're so grateful for those deep relationships.
Ladies, thank you so much. And Mitch, I think you have some comments for us before we move ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, thank you so much all for talking today, and we'll just move right into Q&A. As mentioned, if you'd like to ask a question, please let us know in the chat. We can call on you. Jeff will introduce you, and you can come off mute to ask your question.
Wonderful. A couple of points that I want to make really quickly, and ladies, thank you again for your comments. When someone goes to nafbhunger.com and they make a donation with their credit card or their debit card, the money stays to closest zip code. So whatever zip code that they're in under the affiliate that you have of your station, that money goes to the closest food bank that's there. So yes, you're contributing to the overall effort, but that money is also staying at home, that nafbhunger.com. Drew, I'm especially encouraged as we're waiting for some of the questions to come in. This is the story that I really saw in the vision of this, that NAFB could help, because the story now is of the economic challenge of farmers. And it is true that we're looking at commodity prices that are lower now than they've been since the early 70s, but input prices have gone up. There is economic hardship in the country. But yet through all of these hard times before, commodity organizations, not seeking attention of their own, have been working with Feeding America all along to help hungry people.
You're absolutely right. And you mentioned that there are so many farmer stories to tell in this space, which is the truth. There are thousands and thousands of stories of farmers and ag organizations that have worked with Feeding America during all times, in times of economic hardship, in times where there's abundance. And that is something that we're really incredibly grateful for.
Can you give some examples of how farmers have worked with Feeding America? I know the allowing of gleaning and your workforce there, but are there other places where, again, you can give an example of how farmers, not seeking attention for themselves, but they just work behind the scenes to see the job is done?
Yeah, there's so many great examples. I'll give you an example in the produce space. We often have farms that we work with that will identify that they have, maybe a harvest that maybe it's a third cutting of cabbage that they weren't going to take from their field, but that if we can support them with some of the direct costs of bringing in a crew to get that harvested and packed, that they will donate that product to us. And so there's examples where our network members are covering some of those direct costs. We call those pick and pack out costs, or PPO costs. There's other examples where we've built capacity in the food bank network to take product that we haven't been able to take before. So working with, in the protein industry, the meat industry, working with manufacturers who have, identified that they might have bulk product to donate to the food banks. So we've worked to build capacity in those food banks to have a dedicated clean space that has a USDA gram inspection, so we can repack product in bulk format and get it into a format that families and people facing hunger can use. So there's a lot of different examples and really creative ways that we're working to, rescue bulk product and also in a value-added space. So I see we have a pause there. Maybe I see there's a question coming in.
I hope so. So Riley Smith is with us of the Iowa Agribusiness Network. Riley, if you're there, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jeff. I work a lot with the Food Bank of Iowa, and one of the stats that we heard over the summer was the Healthy Kids Iowa program, how that was helping to keep kids fed over the summer. There were successes. There were a lot of things that were lacking, especially in rural areas in Iowa. My mom works with the food pantry in Southwest Iowa in Griswold, and they were having a really hard time getting enough to keep those kids fed. So I guess what I want to ask is, what can we do to enable those food banks and food pantries in those like really remote rural areas to keep those kids fed? Because as you guys mentioned, the food insecurity is worse for the children in Iowa.
You bet. I'm happy to take that question, Riley, and thanks for that. And thank you for your family's engagement in our work and your partnership with food banks in Iowa. I was there recently to speak at the Iowa Hunger Summit and had a chance to meet with food banks there and to talk about that program. And they described how wonderful it is to receive the funding to be able to pack nutritious food boxes and get that product out to families with kids who need that during the summer when school meals aren't available. And just because school is out doesn't mean that a family's paycheck changes and they suddenly have more money in their pocketbook to be able to go buy those extra groceries for kids when school meals aren't available. So it can be a really challenging time for families with kids. That the program in Iowa is providing lots of funding that can purchase agri products and pack boxes. And there are some real challenges of getting that out to every community. And one of the ways that folks can really be helpful to food bank partners is by volunteering. We need help. We need hands to be able to pack those boxes and get that nutritious food into those and ready for distribution. We need help getting those to the pantries who are going to be prepared to distribute them. And we need help from folks on those distribution days to be able to serve families when they come forward and are looking for those food resources. So there are lots and lots of ways to get involved, and just really want to lift up and celebrate the ways that you've been engaged and encourage your colleagues to do the same. Thanks, Riley.
Linda, thank you for the answer there. And Riley, thanks for the question. Did you have a follow? Go ahead.
No, I don't. I just want to thank for the answer and appreciate what you guys do.
All right. Our president-elect is online, DeLoss Yankee. And DeLoss, I can recall the story of pork producers in Illinois, in your state and in mine, that when packing facilities were overloaded and farmers had no place to go with their hogs, they found some processing places, and they were donating their animals rather than having to put those down. They were donating their animals. They were already suffering red ink, but they were donating their animals, and that was ground pork was then given to the hungry. Just an amazing feat of, again, telling the story how farmers are concerned. DeLoss, go ahead, buddy.
Well, thank you, Jeff, and thank you for doing this. My question of if there have been trends lately, certainly kids, are there growing needs of elderly? Is it just all across the board, every age group, demographic? Have you seen anything of late that has become even more of a concern than what it had been?
Yeah, DeLoss, thanks for that question. We have seen in the last 3 years the levels of food insecurity increase year over year. Right now, the levels of food insecurity, with 47 million people in this country facing food insecurity, is the highest rate of food insecurity since back in the Great Recession in the mid 2008, 2009. So we are facing almost epidemic proportions of food insecurity right now. At the same time, we have seen the reduction in food resources at food banks that are leading to empty shelves at the same time that lines are longer and longer. And so that is a really significant concern for Feeding America and the food banks across our network and our members. And we are working as hard as we can to increase food resources, to raise funds, to be able to access more food, to talk to lawmakers about the opportunities to do good things in the Farm Bill, both for farmers and for folks facing food insecurity. So there are lots of steps that we can take together to be able to address the situation, but you're absolutely right. The levels of food insecurity and hunger are at some of the highest rates they've been in decades.
I also want to make it very clear on behalf of NAFB that we're not taking a policy position on anything. We're just highlighting an issue that there are hungry people. And Linda, you're facing the situation that farmers are facing, and that's inflation. So yes, there's produce and there's others that are being donated, but the fact that there are more hungry people, and when you have to purchase food, it costs you more for your coffers. And I'll offer you that as we move to Greg with Who's Your Ag Today. Greg, go ahead, buddy. Greg, are you there? Linda, can you respond to how inflation is impacting Feeding America and the need for donations there financially?
Yeah, you bet. You're absolutely right, Jeff. At the end of the pandemic, when inflation began to go up, we saw two things happen. We saw lines get longer at food banks as families were more hard pressed to be able to stretch their limited incomes to afford the increased price for food at grocery stores. And at food banks, we saw our diminished capacity to limit or to make our limited food purchase dollars stretch as well. So we were able to afford less food at the same time that families whose incomes were stretched due to inflation were facing more need. So those two lines have crossed and mean that the rates of food insecurity have continued to go up.
I just make the point that Feeding America is able to provide 10 meals for $1.
That's right.
10 meals for $1. And I'm not sure what it costs at Starbucks for coffee or other things that we may enjoy, but $10 would feed a lot of kids. You can do the math. Greg's got the technology worked out. Go ahead, buddy.
That is embarrassing, isn't it?
No, it was something else. You're fine. Go ahead.
Hey guys, thank you so much for what you're doing here. I just applaud your efforts. What an amazing venture that you're embarking upon. I did notice, and you've been talking a lot about bulk product being donated, but on the NAFB Hunger website, I did notice that you're asking for monetary donations, but are you also looking for bulk product donations as well? And how would someone go about doing that?
Ruth, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So you're absolutely right. This is a call to action for people to make financial gifts and donations through the NAFBhunger.org site, but also we regularly, food banks in our network and at the national organization, we regularly work with farmers on food donations. So I would say it's a both. Definitely grateful for that financial support and those gifts that go to the local food bank and people's local communities, and also for food donations. And so if that's something that anyone is interested in, they can reach out to the food sourcer at their local food bank and have a conversation about how to best organize that.
Mm-hmm. And you know, I might also just mention that that the folks at the food banks and our network, they really want to develop long-term relationships with you. This is not a one-way street. We believe that we have the opportunity to forge really strong and lasting partnerships We're so grateful when we receive donations of product, but we also receive grants and other contracts that enable us to purchase product from time to time. And so we'd love to have that relationship with you so that we can partner in multiple ways. So just want to make sure that your listeners know that we want to be able to support you just as you are supporting us.
Well, I want to say this also to our NAFB, not just our broadcasters, but our allied industry and management council members as well. This is a call to action and a ripple effect. If you have your company that you work for has a foundation, if there are other foundations that you're aware of, we're drawing attention to hungry people and food insecure. And in the land of plenty, this is an issue that we can't ignore. It is something that we can do something about. And that's why NAFB has the board of directors, and we have leaned into this. We have PSAs that are available. There will be other PSAs that we can ask our program directors and others to use those, especially during this period of time, to alert the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of people. The door is open here for more questions. We've got about 5 minutes left. Linda, I want you to, if you don't mind, to make the point that Feeding America is not just about putting calories in the bellies of those who are hungry, but you also are concentrating on making sure that the nutritional value of the food that's received through food banks is of excellent quality. So it's not just food, it's good nutrition.
That's exactly right, Jeff. Thank you so much for bringing that up. When we talk to folks facing hunger across every community in this country, they tell us that there are 3 products that they want and need access to more than any others: fresh produce, dairy, meat. Those products are what our neighbors and people facing hunger tell us are the most important things that they don't have the capacity to purchase enough of when they go to the grocery store. And so at food banks all across the country, we're working really, really hard to build strong ties and strong partnerships with folks in the agri sector, because we understand that we have an opportunity to bring nutritious product grown by our nation's farmers and producers into food banks all across the country to ensure that folks that we serve have access to the nutritious products that they specifically tell us they want and they need the most. So we really want to underscore our appreciation for the work that you do, for the support that you bring our way. You're helping us be directly responsive to the people that we serve with the products that they tell us they need us and they want the most.
Our chat went still open, but Linda, I want to ask one more question here and see if you can't help with this response of what hunger looks like. Because I think people perhaps have an image of hunger, but maybe it's not accurate, because this could be anyone. This could be us. The number of people that are 1 or 2 paychecks away from being in a need situation, especially in this economy. It's not just metro areas. And in fact, the news that you're sharing is that this is a bigger issue in rural areas than it might be in the nation's metros. So what does hunger look like? What does a food insecure person look like? Does it just have one dimension?
Thanks, Jeff. Hunger looks like you and me. Hunger looks like my mom. It could look like your dad. It could look like your grandmother or your grandfather. When you go to church on Sunday and you're sitting in a room of 100 people in your congregation, we know that 14% of those folks are likely facing food insecurity. And in a rural community, those numbers can be as high as 50%. When your kid goes to school in their class of 30, they're going to have at least 6 of their classmates, or perhaps as many as 15 in a rural community, who are facing hunger. So folks who are experiencing hunger look just like you and me.
Riley, you've got another question there from our great state of Iowa. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. I have a question for Drew, and this is just a quick one about just kind of some of the unique opportunities I know Iowa State has programs through Extension like Grow Another Row. That's an opportunity for people to bring like extra garden produce, bring it to a stand, and anybody can take it. Are there unique opportunities like that that we can highlight that you may know about?
Yeah, there are so many unique opportunities to make food donations across this country. There's opportunities like you were talking about where it can grow a row or there can be a community garden. And many times your local food bank can put you into direct communication and direct contact with a local agency or a local partner that can take things, you know, in a bushel or a bulb crate or a small donation. And then there's also, you know, a lot of interesting programs that food banks across the country have been engaged in the ways that they can engage farmers. Like Linda said, some are through, you know, donations, some are through working with farmers on paying the direct costs for the product that are donated. Some are working through purchasing and building those relationships. Some are farmers market rescues. So there's a lot of great examples of creative ways food banks and farmers are working together. And I'd encourage any farmer grower who's interested in that to reach out to their local food bank to learn more.
All right. I'm just going to do an audible here. Don York, it's at awfully early in California this morning. And I saw that you joined us. I just wondered if you wanted to participate, if you wanted a chance to have a question from the West Coast. I'm just taking an impromptu chance there. Don, do you have something for us? All right, hearing none, we'll move ahead. Garner Hatch, if you will unmute yourself. I'm going to ask that you share this with everyone. Summer and Michael, you may want to chime in on this, of how this recording will be made available after we conclude here in just a few minutes.
Yes, hi Jeff. Thank you for that. This has been such a great call and a great meeting with a lot of great information and questions as well. We are going to be posting a recording of this on the NAFB news service. If you have a specific request, Greg, I saw your question too. We can get it to you directly as well. We're working with Mitch at Feeding America, so we will get this posted on the news service. And we're also going to take a look at some of the content here and provide some news stories through the news service as well from this meeting. So lots of opportunities to leverage some of the great information and content here this morning.
All right. So Linda and Drew, I would also be curious as the month moves on, if we have broadcasters that would like to make contact with you, if they may be able to schedule some interviews after this meeting today.
Absolutely. We'd love to speak with you.
All right, so let's circle the wagons and bring this home. Drew, I'm going to start with you. Closing thoughts or comments this morning for our broadcasters, but also for those who are listening this morning during this very special month where we're targeting hunger in America.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much to all of the farmers, ranchers, producers that we work with on a regular basis. We appreciate your generosity, your hard work, your commitment to your local communities and to people facing hunger and taking action to respond to the hunger crisis in America and especially rural America. So thank you, and reach out to your local food bank. We want to partner with you and want to build those lasting relationships with you.
Linda, your Feeding America is the conduit, the connection between those who are food insecure, the parents that are in a situation of what am I going to do? Not only are they hungry, their children are hungry, and they don't see answers. The other end of that spectrum are producers who have the ability to help, but also for those non-farmers that are listening who have the opportunity to make a donation. Even $1 feeds 10 people, 10 meals. Feeding America is the conduit between those who have and those who have not. How can we help?
Thanks, Jeff. You know, hunger exists in every county or parish in every state in this nation. There are folks who are experiencing food insecurity, and there are folks who care about people who are experiencing food insecurity and care deeply about their community. Hunger is one of those nonpartisan issues where all of us have the opportunity to come together and make a difference for our neighbors because we care about our community, and we know that when everyone is food secure, then we can all thrive together. So this is an opportunity for us to say thank you to America's farmers, ranchers, and producers for everything that you do every day to help feed folks, whether they are able to afford all of the groceries that they need or aren't. We appreciate the partnership that we have with you. We invite you to get engaged during Hunger Action Month and every month afterwards. So thanks for the chance to be with you today, and we'll look forward to speaking with you again really soon.
Wonderful. Mitch, you're the one driving the boat. Take us home, friend.
Yeah, I think we're all wrapped up here. So I'll go ahead and end the recording. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Gardner, so much for the opportunity to do this. This was great. And then, of course, thank you, Linda. Thank you, Drew, for sharing all this great information today.
$100,000 and